Forever, for East Africa makes us strong. In attempts by one or two members of parliament to introduce an idea of removing the presidential two-term limits. We want to send this message because we know Uganda has lived through that experience. We want to send a message to the members of parliament that as human rights defenders, as activists, we want the constitution implemented to the letter. We cannot allow a perpetual presidency because we know the effects of that. We have seen it in Uganda, we are seeing it in Rwanda, and Kenya cannot go that direction. So we are urging Kenyans to resist any such attempts. Any individual in power for more than 10 years and he feels they need to continue still being in power, it means that that individual is incompetent and that they cannot deliver their mandates, because 10 years is more than enough time you need to express your development plans for you to implement whatever you want to do. And there is a reason why you have term limits, so that you can allow others also to get an opportunity to lead this country. It's introducing fresh blood. It's introducing new ideas. So we are saying as Haki Africa, learning from the experience of Uganda, that we shall resist any attempts to change the constitution to remove the presidential two-term limits. And maybe His Excellency can also speak to that from their experience, and then we'll open it up to members of the media to ask questions. Welcome.
Thank you very much, my brother. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, members of the press. I want to thank our brothers of Haki Africa for having us, our brothers and sisters, for having us. We don't take this for granted. With me, I came with part of the leadership of the National Unity Platform and People Power, the party and movement that I lead in Uganda. We are glad to be here in Kenya. Yesterday, we had a human rights accountability conference, a Uganda human rights accountability conference in Nairobi, Kenya. Why? Because we cannot have it in Uganda, because the authorities in Uganda have no regard for human rights whatsoever. Even those that are dared to have prayers, to have a vigil back home in our offices, were arrested, and of course dispersed with tear gas and live bullets. That's the situation in Uganda today. First time, Kenyans have always stood with us. I am alive today, able to speak to you, because you Kenyans started protests that spread to the world over, and those are the protests that pressured General Museveni's military regime to release me from the dungeons where I had been detained. We are thankful for that. We should always remind each other that dictatorship in any part of Africa is a threat to democracy in every part of Africa. About constitutionalism and the need to maintain constitutionalism, not just constitutions. Right now, to our brothers and sisters in Kenya, I don't want to speak to it. I want to point at it. I don't want to use so many words. I want to point at Uganda. We experienced it in 2005 when General Museveni moved through his proxies a scheme to change the constitution and remove term limits. And when it was time for him to be held back by the age limit, when he clocked 75, he once again, through proxies, moved a scheme to change the constitution once again. Of course, he did that with a lot of impunity, with a lot of violence, but he did it. What does it show you, Kenyans? That is how it starts. It might start like one errant MP making irresponsible statements. And yes, some leaders might actually come out to deny it. General Museveni, while he was being interviewed here in Kenya, he said, certainly not, I would not rule beyond 75. When it was talked about that he was intending to change the constitution and remove term limits, he dismissed it as idle talk. But ultimately, we lost lives, we lost lots of resources, all in a bid to change the constitution and maintain himself in power. So do not be woodwinked. It is you and only you, the people of Kenya alone, that can retain your constitution, that can protect your constitution. Of course, we continue to tell you that defend your constitution before your constitution is too weak to defend you.
Solidarity forever. Solidarity forever.